Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. We have been trying to film this video for a couple of days now and it just has not worked out. Things have been crazy. Steven and I tried to sit down and film this yesterday and we just kept getting distracted. The kids kept interrupting. Baby was waking up from a nap and it was just kind of a mess. I'm doing this video because it's something that I told some of you I was going to do, and both of us, Steven and I, really feel like this is a topic that's really important right now. It's something that a lot of families have on their mind as far as jumping into homeschooling. So we wanted to kind of share our experience for those of you that are starting your homeschool journey this year, and I know there's a lot of you due to the whole pandemic thing. I asked the question on my Instagram, and I also asked it on a couple of Facebook groups that I'm in. And I also know, just as a disclaimer, that my answers are going to kind of vary for those of you that are starting homeschool as a long-term thing, or you are starting homeschool with the intent to send your kids back to public school. When you're setting your goals, that's something that you want to keep in mind. Basically, the answers that I give are going to be based on our experience and our goals, which our goals are to homeschool our kids all the way through 12th grade. So just keep that in mind when you're listening to my answers. And I'd be happy to do my best to answer any other questions that you may have if you want to leave them in the comments below. So I have my questions written out over here on my computer, so that's why I'm going to be looking this direction occasionally. So I have 9 questions. I'm going to try to run through them and not ramble, because yesterday when we tried to record this video, I realized that I was rambling a little too much. So I'm going to try to just get to the point. The first question that I have here is, how do you pick a curriculum? I'm sure it's different for every kid, but how do you know what will work for you? First, I'll just say that there's really no way that you're going to pick the perfect curriculum, no matter what the situation is. We just have to do the best that we can. And there's no way to know if a curriculum is going to work great for you until you try it out. And I know that's probably not the answer that most people want to hear. But with that being said, there are a lot of great resources out there on the internet now. There's lots of great YouTube channels, lots of great blogs that you can go to actually take a look inside the curriculum and read as many details as you can about the curriculum before you go to purchase it. As far as how I choose curriculum for my kids, when we first started homeschooling, Liam started kindergarten, I was starting from square one. And when it came to choosing a curriculum and what curriculum I used when I was in school, I used, my mom used Abeka for most of the subjects that I did in elementary school. So I looked into that, and we actually did use Abeka for math for Liam in kindergarten and in first grade. But basically, how I chose my curriculum was just based on the research that I did and things that I pulled from other moms. Also, when it comes to picking a curriculum, you want to ask yourself, what kind of values do I want to teach my children? Because there are Christian curriculums, there are secular curriculums, so if you're wanting to instill godly Christian values into your... Okay, sorry, I got a phone call, so I had to stop the video. In addition to thinking about what values you want to instill, you also want to consider each individual child's learning style. So some curriculums are going to work better for visual learners, some curriculums are going to work better for kids that do better with hands-on activities, or kids that do better with just hearing. So that's something to consider when you're choosing a curriculum as well. Number 2 was, how do you manage homeschooling with a baby? I don't do a good job. I really don't think that I do. You kind of just have to throw yourself at things when you get the time, and just know that things aren't going to be quiet and peaceful all the time. Things aren't going to go according to your schedule every day. It's important to have that mindset of flexibility, and I think that's one thing that really helps me not get thrown off, or at least not thrown off too much, is just keeping that mindset of, today things just didn't go as planned, and so we're just going to roll with it. He can sit in my lap while we're doing math or whatever. But also, Levi, he takes pretty consistent naps for the most part. So this year we will be trying to get done as much as we can during his nap time. Multitasking. If you're a mom, then more than likely you already know how to do this. It's just one of those things that you just jump in and do it. You can do it. Number 3 was, can you plan lessons without spending an arm and a leg on curriculum? Yes, you absolutely can. There are actually several free curriculum options out there. And if you have younger children, then maybe consider not using curriculum at all. This is actually one thing that I was thinking about a few days ago in trying to figure out how I'm going to do math with my kindergartner this year, because he is such a different type of learner than my oldest is. I just know that what I did with my oldest is not going to work necessarily as well for him. So I've pretty much decided that I am just going to ditch the curriculum for math. I've printed out a list of basically the things that I want him to know and the goals that I have as far as what I want him to learn and walk away with by the end of this year. And each day I'm just going to pull out that list and I'm going to just go over those things with him. They're basic enough that I don't really need a curriculum, or come up with a game or something related to, getting us a step closer to those goals. A misconception that parents have that have never homeschooled before is that you have to follow this rigid curriculum. And I think it's important to remember that one reason that curriculum was established in the first place was to teach large groups of children at one time, and to try to, it's more for the teacher than it is for the child. You know the basics of what you want your child to learn. Curriculum is really not always necessary, especially for the younger ages. But if you really feel like you need something that you can open to give you kind of an outline and an idea of what to do each day, and you don't have a lot of money to spend, I recommend checking out the website Easy Peasy. There are homeschool lesson plans for all subjects and all grades on there, and they are laid out for you, and it's all free. So that is a great place to start if you are looking for some curriculum that does not cost you anything. Another thing that you can do is buy just the generic workbooks from like Costco or the dollar store. This is an example of one that I used for Liam. And this is all we did for social studies last year. And I think this book was like, $4. So I picked it up, I think at Costco, and we just worked through it together. And that was our social studies for last year. So number 4 is, what do you do that's still educational when you or your kids are having a bad day? We are really blessed to live in a place where we are free to go outside and explore. We have a lake close by, we have woods, we have a large yard, we have animals, we have gardens. So there's always somewhere that we can go outside and do something if we're having a bad day, or if the kids, need a reset. But I also understand that that's not an option for everyone. So another thing that we do if we're having a bad day is just pull away from the table or the desks or the workbooks and go sit on the couch and just read a book. Your kids are going to absorb a lot of information just from you simply reading to them. They enjoy that focus that you have on them, and it kind of takes the pressure off of them to perform. And they will still be learning a lot at the same time. Number 5 is, what was your journey to choosing to homeschool? I really would like for Stephen to be here to help answer this question too.
Are you glad that we homeschool? in this day and age, yes. Yeah, I'm
So
very
you are in
glad.
agreement.
Of course I am.
Okay.
If we weren't in agreement, then we wouldn't be doing it.
I think the main reason that we chose to homeschool is because we knew that it would give us the most control over what our children are learning. And I personally had a great homeschool experience, and I knew that I wanted to give that experience to my children as well. I haven't always felt capable. I haven't always felt motivated. But in the end, the reason that we chose to do it is because we felt like it was what God was calling us to do for our kids. And so that's the route that we took. Number 6, what does a typical day look like, and how do you plan each day? That's kind of a hard question for me to answer right now, having an infant, because we probably haven't had a typical day in, 6-7 months. All of last semester was kind of crazy and chaotic, and we didn't really have a good schedule or routine down because I had Levi in February in the middle of the semester. And obviously before I had him, I wasn't really feeling up to our regular routine. After I had him, things were kind of crazy, so we didn't really get back into a regular routine. And then before we knew it, it was summer. Before having Levi, when we were in a good routine, our typical day looked like us getting up, the kids, having breakfast, us doing a few chores, and then us sitting down at the dining room table to do school, which usually ends up being around 9:30 or 10. So they would pull out their books, and we would just all sit at the table together for an hour, maybe 2 at the most, and just go through their subjects together. Liam is able to read. He's been able to read since kindergarten. So he can do a lot of his work independently. So that freed me up to do things with Landon whenever he was working independently, and then Landon would go off and play with his other brother, or he would color or something while I did the things that required my focus with Liam. And then we were done. We were done with school well before lunchtime as far as traditional school goes. So yeah, after that, we just had lunch and we had the rest of the day to do whatever, to do chores or see friends or play outside or whatever. Number 7, what methods of socializing your kids have you found most beneficial? And this question is a big one for me, and I'm kind of passionate about it because I really am bothered by this idea that homeschooled kids are generally less socialized, or that they're missing out on something by being homeschooled. I think that is what really bothers me because I know it's not true. But for us, as far as how we socialize our kids, well, first of all, we are blessed to live in a community. We know all of our neighbors. Our kids' best friends all live either right next to us or within 5 minutes of us. So they see each other almost every day. They play together all the time, and there's no shortage of friends for them here in this community that we live in. I do know that that is something we are really blessed to have, and a lot of people do not have that. But even without that, there are so many opportunities for homeschooled kids now to get out and do activities together and learn things together. I know here in our area, there's a multitude of co-ops where the kids come together once a week and learn a subject, and then go home and work on it the rest of the week. But that gives an opportunity to socialize with other kids their age. There's a lot of activities now that have times just for homeschoolers. Like I think there's a Lego club in town close to us, and they have a time set aside just for homeschoolers since they're available during the morning or afternoon when kids that are in public school normally can't come. So that's another opportunity for the kids to get to know and hang out with other kids. There's a ton of things like that in this area. So there's really no reason for a child to be unsocialized just because they're homeschooled. I think it's very healthy for the kids to work in sibling groups. In a traditional school setting, kids are only grouped by age, pretty much. They're only in classes with kids their age. And so in homeschooling and in being exposed to other kids that are homeschooling, they're getting more of an opportunity to get along with their siblings, or to help kids that are younger, or to learn how to listen to siblings that are older, things like that, opportunities like that that I don't really see happen much in traditional school. All right, so where was I? Okay, number 8. Should I use an umbrella school? What are the pros and cons? We use an umbrella school. The pros and cons, I would say a pro is you don't have to do your own record keeping. You don't have to submit your own records straight to the county. The umbrella school does all of that for you. It serves kind of as a covering to make sure that you are within certain state or county guidelines. And it also gives you opportunities to meet and ask questions with other homeschooling families. It's just a great resource to have if you need help or if you have questions. Those are the pros, I would say, of being under an umbrella school, and those are the main reasons why we chose to be under an umbrella school. 2 cons I can think of is having to be under a umbrella school may make you feel like you have a little less freedom to do what you want in terms of how you teach and what you teach. I personally do not feel that way with the umbrella school that we are under. They are very, not lax, but as long as I let them know what we are going to be doing in a general way, I'm good. I don't have to follow a certain curriculum. I don't have to follow a certain method. I don't even have to teach certain subjects. I just have to let them know what we're doing. So I really like that. The only other con is the cost. There is a yearly cost involved. I think for us, for 2 kids, it was around maybe a little more than $100 for both kids that are registered this year, and that's for the whole year. So, and I know that varies depending on what umbrella you choose, but that would be the only other con that I can think of. Number 9 is, how do you get one-on-one time without the other kids interrupting? Well, it is difficult, but I do try to, and this is actually something I'm planning on doing this year, is kind of planning out our days, not trying to stick to a specific time, but just trying to make sure that I'm having my oldest work on something independently during the time that I need to be working with one of my younger kids, focused, like language arts, or really anything with the younger kids. I really have to be focused on them. And that is one reason why I've always really tried to teach my kids to read at a fairly early age. And that's something that I'm going to really be focusing on with my second oldest this year, because it has made things much easier having my oldest, who is going into 2nd grade, be able to read well. That allows him to do a lot of his work independently, and I don't have to be right with him all the time or reading to him all the time, and I can spend my focus on the younger kids that don't know how to read yet. But it is a balancing act. It's just, and it's really hard to get that one-on-one time where there's none of the other kids are around or ever asking you anything. I'm really not sure how you would do that, but you don't have to. They have to take turns. I hope that I've somewhat answered these questions for you. I know this was really quick and my answers are very general, and I apologize. I feel like it's really hard for me to know exactly how to answer some things, because I know that all of you are coming from a different background, you're coming from different perspectives, you all have different experiences, but I hope that this was somehow helpful for you just to kind of have those questions answered and to hear a little bit about what we do and what our journey has been to homeschooling. I know that there is a lot more I could talk about. I could go into way more detail, but I didn't want to do that in this video. I wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet for those of you who are about to jump into homeschooling for the first time this year. And I pray that this year is successful and restful, and that you enjoy and soak up this time that you are going to be spending with your kids, that you learn together, that you learn well, and that you love well. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Let me know in the comments below what you think. You can also go to my Instagram and comment there, or just drop me a message and I will do my best to respond. I have no idea what we're doing from here. Why do you like being homeschooled?
Because we don't have to ride in the car all the way to school.
Is that the only reason?